Gonna fully clone me, bro. What are you gonna do? Launch a brand called D's. This is Jashaan Gill and this is Offscript. So the thing that to unlearn to grow is to take the personality away from the decision making. So when you faced with a rejection, it's not personal, it's just business. And you just have to stand back up and try again. The biggest part of my journey that remains unseen is the initial self-doubt before I go out to do a show or a big public piece. So there's always that self-doubt voice that says, yeah, you're not good enough, or like you're not fit for this industry or whatnot. So that's a part that I've never really openly discussed with people before, but I think a lot of people go through it. So me now being in the position I am, I really think I should use my voice for the positive aspect of saying that despite all the success, I still have that before the shows. The biggest part of the journey now that would have overwhelmed me previously, initially thought that my success story would be to reach London Fashion Week, and that would be me at the pinnacle of my career. As it's transpired, I've been able to travel across the transatlantic sea and be successful over there. So I think that potentially would have overwhelmed me at the start, but now I've accepted it as my reality. I think the biggest fear that shapes me the most is failure. Big misconception on what I've achieved over my fashion career. I think people seem to think that I've just gone from one fashion week to another. I've had to do, hard graft in between in terms of go back to 9-to-5s or go and do jobs I don't want to do to help fund the next step. Because, I'm not from money, and, being in fashion is very expensive, and being a creative is very expensive to pursue your dream. The biggest thing that nearly broke me was the first ever business meeting that I went into. I hadn't launched a business, I just had the business plan, and I went to an advisor to ask for the next steps, and he just said that a fashion designer from Albury would never happen, and the business would never be successful, or I'd never be successful in fashion. In terms of the first ever business advisor telling me that, you're not good enough, the area that you're from, all these external factors would determine my future. And I'm thankful that I didn't let that break me, because now look where I am now. The moment that I realized that my voice carries some sorts of influence is when I was walking through Birmingham City Centre, and I was stopped by a group of young people, and they were like, "We were inspired by your journey, and we've seen you on the TV." So I think for me, that's when I realised that I've got a social responsibility to make sure I'm going down the right path and inspiring the next gen, as well as people my own age and older people, because in the industry that I'm in fashion, a lot of people have an interest in it. So I carry a voice for those people that potentially would never have had a voice in fashion. The biggest thing that drives me is the fact that I feel like I'm in the right headspace to achieve what I want to achieve, in terms of I know that I'm good enough to. So I think that's the biggest driver, accepting my current circumstances and my previous circumstances, and not being afraid to admit those. So being from a sort of deprived area of being Albury and not letting that influence my decision making, saying that I can go to Hollywood, I can go to LA, I can be successful in New York. That's where I think the self-doubt comes in terms of, that business advisor told me I wouldn't be good enough, but now I'm in those rooms. So, that's the biggest driver, I'll prove you wrong. The biggest thing I'm trying to communicate through my work is that anyone can achieve what they set out to do. So I set out to be a fashion designer, and now I'm doing fashion weeks regularly each year, dressing people for the Grammys, the Emmys, the Oscars. So I'm doing it on a large scale. It's like I'm proving that people can have a dream and also navigate towards that. And there's no end point. There is no glass ceiling that we should be sheltered in. We can all break through that glass ceiling. It's just if you believe in yourself enough to be able to take that step, that scary step, and go for it. The journey has been very demanding in terms of keep going, keep stepping forward, and you have to think about the next step forward in order to, rise again. I think the biggest thing that I feel like I've outgrown is some of the conversations and some of the people I grew up with. It's just in terms of when you grow up, you have different mindsets and different things you want from life. Like, I'm not a party animal where I want to go to the club, nightclubs all the time. Like, I literally want to sometimes just sit in and work on my craft. And some people previously used to call me boring for doing that. But now I feel like that sacrifice has definitely been worth it, because you look around now and I'm with different kinds of people, more like-minded people. So I feel like that's something that anyone that wants to be successful has to, navigate towards people that are also on that same wavelength as well. The biggest thing I thought was a failure was when one of my collections didn't go as well as I thought it would. I think that's where I realized that sometimes the personal design style or the personal thing that I like doesn't necessarily mean it's right for the market. Or I also found that I was pitching to a market in the UK where it wasn't really their sort of cup of tea, so to speak. But I took that collection and took it to New York and LA, and they loved it. So sometimes it's not an actual failure, you're just pitching it in the wrong area, and you can turn that failure into a success. Inspiration. I want to be an inspirational figure where I show people that anything is possible, and for that saying not to be a cliche, for it to actually be a fact of life. The name Jashaan Gill, I want people to associate that with being a winner. Winning in any circumstance and going above and beyond and achieving a dream, but also remaining grounded and keeping your moral compass intact. The one message that I want to be remembered for forever is not being a quitter. It's facing those rejections, facing that failure, and being able to pick up the courage to stand back up and go again. The Ray means to me turning up every single day and being your authentic, excellent self, without, trying to do too much. Be true to yourself. Go towards your own excellence and don't compete and compare yourself to anyone else. You're an individual, so achieve your own excellence. This first item is a business card from someone that told me a fashion designer from Albury would never wear. So I keep this in my wallet every single day as a constant reminder of, a driving force to say that I'm going to be successful in what I do. I use this item more or less every day because it is in my wallet, so I see it every single day. Whether that's a conscious or subconscious decision, that I feel like this unlocks my mindset of I'm going to prove you wrong. I had two options, whether to give up there and then before I've even started, or go out there and say I'm going to prove you wrong, or I'm going to do my best to prove you wrong. And I feel like now I definitely have proved him wrong. This item is just a notepad and a pen, because this is how my designs start. I literally draw in the notepad like the roughest sketch just to get it on a piece of paper, and then that's how my designs are born, essentially. On a day-to-day basis, I'm literally just writing to-do lists. I think the biggest moment that give me the motivation behind this is when I lost one of my notebooks. That gut-wrenching feeling where I've worked so hard for like a few months to then lose it, it felt like, my heart had sank. It's easy to get lost in, especially in the fashion industry, it's easy to get lost in the glitz and the glamour. So to have a notebook to keep you centered and these are the next steps you need to take, or this is the next thing you need to do, it gives you that discipline and that driving force to keep moving forward within the industry. Okay, so this item is the jacket that was first worn at the Grammys. This was my first contract to dress someone for the Grammys, and it's important to me, and the reason why I brought it is because I feel like this is the pivotal moment of my fashion career, where I feel like I've transitioned from doing fashion weeks to working with high-end clients. I use this item to push my values in the sense of, I feel like this is the item that's really shaped my future in terms of being able to say that I'm now a fashion designer that styles people for the Grammys, the Emmys, the Oscars. It's really the pivotal point where I feel like I've made it as a fashion designer. It keeps me going in terms of when things aren't going right on that specific day. I always look at this jacket and think this is all the hard work, all the step backs. I've still been able to stand back up and reach the level that I've reached, keep me grounded and also inspire me to keep going and break through the next glass ceiling that I feel like I've got. So this is why this jacket's so important to me. Looking at all three items as a collective, it showcases organisation, inspiration and a winning mentality. I feel like the items would have been toned down a little previously because I hadn't reached the heights that I've reached, and also previously I wouldn't want to discuss the initial step back. I'd want to keep that as my own motivation, keep it private. Circumstances where I might win more fashion awards, I might use that as more motivation instead of a different item. On my hardest days, I feel like the business card is the biggest driving force, because some might say is in my head rent-free every day, but I see it as an inspiration to say, you know what, imagine if that phone line on that business card is actually still valid and I can talk to him 11 years later and tell him exactly what I've done. I've been Jashaan Gill and this has been Off Script. Cheers!